Hey, everybody, it's Dave here from Vikings First and SKOL, and Darren, again, is not. And I'll get into that at the end of the show, why he's still not here, but it does have to do with the wildfires. Hey, that's life. Got to take care of your own, baby. Got to take care of your own. But what are we doing today? Hey, you know it's been a busy week for your Minnesota Vikings. It started with cut down of the roster to the initial 53-man squad, followed by a couple of days of acquisitions, and a few players moved here, a few players moved there, IR, waived, cut, do this, do that. All the dance that happens right around cut down day as the Vikings consolidate their team that they're going to use going into the 2023 season. From there, we as fans went on to watching for extensions because we had two players, TJ Hockenson and Justin Jefferson, that we've been told extensions can come at any time. We need to watch, or they might not come at all. We were hoping. Well, we partially got satisfied, I would think. So we will find out. We're going to go down, or we have one down on those extensions, and we have one to go. And we're talking about all of this on today's Two Old Bloggers. Next. Vikings First and SKOL presents This Week in Vikings Land with Darren and Dave, your two old bloggers. Hey, everybody, it's Dave again and Justin over
What's
there.
up?
I want to introduce you to Justin Day. If you don't know already, Justin has his own YouTube channel, which is called Purple and Gold for Days. It's a play on his name. Pretty smart, huh? Justin is also part of Vikings First and SKOL. He's part of our podcast team, and you can hear his podcasts usually twice a week on your favorite podcast aggregator. And that's the only place you can get them. So, another reason to subscribe to the Vikings First and SKOL podcasts. And Vikings First and SKOL podcasts are an arm of Fans First Sports Network, who are kind enough to pay us to do all this, and we love them for it. And it's a great site where we even have writers, and you can go over there daily and catch up on some of your favorite Vikings news, or news across the league, or news across all of sportsdom. If you're into soccer, baseball, basketball, wrestling, they got a big wrestling content over there.
Yeah.
Whatever you like, they pretty much have it or are trying to get it. So Justin is assuming the blogging persona today, since Darren isn't here. Something new for him, and he'll be joining me in the latest discussion of what's happening around Vikings land. So let's get going. How are you doing, Justin?
I am great, Dave. Thank you so much. Shout out to Darren and all the good things that he's having to do to get that situation and all of those people help. I'll do my best to sit in for Darren in the Two Old Blogger Sanctuary. I'll do my best. But thank you, everybody, for joining us. We got 32 people in the building already, and we're only 3 minutes into this bad boy. Hello to everybody. Yes, I said hello in the chat, and that'll be the last time I'm in the chat tonight, ladies and gentlemen, because, well, I'm actually on with Dave today. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. The regular season is upon us. It is preseason no more. It is not. Well, are any of the starters going to play? No, they're not. Finally, we get to see the starters. We get to see Kirk Cousins, Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, KJ Osborne. We get to see Danielle Hunter. We get to see Harrison Smith, and we get to see the Flores defense with real stuff. I'm not saying unreal, but with the starters. We get to see all the blitzes from those guys. How are you not excited? Because if you're not, you gotta be. You gotta be. So we're officially kicking off week 1, ladies and gentlemen. This is it. This is the final 2 old bloggers on a Sunday for a while.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get back to the scheduling for all of the channels here shortly, or at some point during the show. But thank you again, Dave, for having me, and best wishes. Shout out to Darren. We hope to see you back in the slot soon.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to start out. I had, normally we go with 3 themes. I have 4. This might be a little bit of a long episode, but I think everybody's cool with that, at least the ones that are watching. Now, if you're out at a lake enjoying yourself, fishing, doing that last bit of enjoying summer, by all means do that. Watch us on the replay. But we're going to have fun with everybody here, and I do want to thank everybody that's here already. Now, first theme, TJ Hockenson is locked in. The Minnesota Vikings made a significant move by signing TJ Hockenson to a 4-year contract worth up to $68.5 million, making him the highest paid tight end in the NFL, at least on paper. The deal includes $42.5 million in guarantees with a $29.92 million fully guaranteed bonus at signing. That's a nice little paycheck, and you wonder why he's out house shopping. Hawkinson's signing bonus is $18 million, spread out over 5 seasons, with a charge of $3.6 million a season. Now, I thought the contract was a win-win for both Hockenson and the Vikings. The maximum value of the contract. With the maximum value of the contract, Hockenson can claim that he's the highest paid tight end. Or better yet, his agent can claim he got the highest paid, right? And that's all a part of this business. You want to do that. But the Vikings got it to where they have flexibility at the end of the contract. And here at the beginning of the contract, guess what? They save cap money. I think it's a wonderful deal. I think it's absolutely great. What did you think, Justin?
I think, like you said, it's a win-win for all parties involved. First and foremost, you save a little bit of money on this year's salary cap because he was slated to make 9.3 and is down to about 4.9. So it's $4.4 million of extra cap space. And because we had signed the running back, which we'll talk about later, and the tackle from Buffalo, we were getting down to the nitty gritty, and you always have to have a little bit of money in the rainy day fund, as you call it. So the fact that you moved $4.5 million extra into this year's cap was a win. The fact of the matter is, $18 million signing bonus over 5 years. His only cap hits at 3.6, as you said. And the last 2 years of this extension don't have any guaranteed money. All the guaranteed money is in the first 3 years. So you've still got your flexibility. And that is what Kwesi Adofo-Mensah has said ad nauseum, is he wants to have cap flexibility. He wants to have roster flexibility. Yeah, all the guaranteed money is in the first 3 years. And the salary cap hits over the next 2 years at 14.1 and 15.1. That's reasonable. That is market value for a tight end of his caliber, being in the top 5 tight ends. So no, the Vikings did not get a sweetheart of a deal like they did with Danielle Hunter back in 2018. It wasn't that team friendly, but it certainly wasn't an overpay. It was not an overpay whatsoever. And some people thought this was an overpay. And I'm like, no, it's square on. It's exactly where it should be. So
I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. And it's interesting that this is the first contract extension, long-term extension by Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, our GM. And I thought it was a good one. And there's nothing wrong with that. That should, everybody's worried about Kwesi's a bum, fire him already. Well, hey, there was a few things we needed to see first. Let's get, a few years of the draft. Let's get under cap out from under cap hell, which we're real close to being at already. Out from under it, that is. And let's see how this works out. And for the people that think they paid Hawk too much, I'd like to refer you to one of my favorite writers of all time, a Grand Forks originator, Mr. Arif Hassan, right? And Arif started over at Daily Norseman, and he writes 5,000-word tomes to explain a whole bunch of stuff, and that's his style, and it's cool. I like it. But he broke it down by taking his spreadsheets. That's right, SKOL Purple Podcast. He took it down by breaking his spreadsheets, and if any of you know Arif, he loves his spreadsheets. And he took it and he looked at how can you compare players over eras, how much they make and how much is it actually worth. And he proposed that best way to look at it is by percentage of cap, right? That year, 2023, is what he adjusted everything to, because we know the cap for 2023. And he looked at percentage of cap. How much of the pie, the whole cap pie, is that player taking up? Well, when it comes to TJ Hockenson, people are saying, he's making the most of any. But is he? If you take people that signed earlier, a few years earlier, are they making more of a percentage of cap than TJ? He would be making the most if he had the biggest piece of pie. Well, guess what? He doesn't. It turns out that what Arif said, and I'll quote, "The importance of tight ends has increased over time. Individual players have taken up more of cap in recent years than they did a decade ago. That's an interesting story in its own right. But the important thing is that can he really be compared to recent tight ends?" And the answer to that was the unquote, is yes. Now, he took out Jimmy Graham and Rob Gronkowski because, both great tight ends, but they're no longer playing football. But he looked at everybody. And TJ comes in at 6th amongst modern tight ends. And modern tight ends, he went all the way back. I didn't mean to do that. I got a big enough head already. There we go. He went all the way back to Shannon Sharpe in 1997. And he looked. But TJ comes in 6th amongst the modern tight ends. Well, if you think about it, isn't that about where we have him figured? We figure he's top 5 tight end. Well, he's getting paid as the 6th. And we're talking average APY of the cap. It's the percentage, how big a piece of pie over that yearly cap was. And number 1 is Darren Waller with the Giants. He makes 8.2%. Followed by Dallas Goedert of the Eagles making 7.8%. Mark Andrews of the Ravens at 7.7%. George Kittle of the 49ers at 7.6%. Jimmy Graham and Rob Gronkowski came in next at 7.5%. And then TJ at 7.34. So I still think, even though they paid him, $17.125 million APY on average, he's not, yes, he's got the biggest number due to cap inflation. Call it capflation, right? Because cap goes up every year. But he's not taking the biggest chunk of the pie. So I think we got a good deal. And he's happy because he can say that he got it. We're happy as fans because we've got him locked in till, 2027? And, and the team's happy. Win, win, win.
And as I said, those last 2 years, you can go back to the negotiating table. If that's market value for him at that point, you keep it for what it is. If it's too high, you go to him and say, "Hey, let's extend you a couple years, but we're going to finagle the numbers, turn some of it into signing bonus, and move the cap numbers down." The fact, again, worst case scenario, absolute worst case scenario. Let's say 3 years from now, you have to move on and you trade him. You're only taking $7.2 million, which are the last two 3.6 prorated years. That's it. It's not like when you cut Adam Thielen and had to take a $13 million dead cap hit, or when you cut Dalvin Cook and had to take, I believe, an $8-point-some million dead cap hit. No, for 2 years, 7.2 is absolutely nothing. So he maintained flexibility for the team at that point. Just a quick side note on a technicality. Technically, maybe we are going to say that Kwesi's first extension might have been CJ Ham, but I get your point.
Well,
it was the first major extension. Major guy. But with all that being said, I had somebody hit me up and say, well, CJ Ham was okay.
Fine. True.
All right.
Yes.
Fair enough.
That's true. I agree wholeheartedly.
But to wrap this up, to say this is a good deal. Again, right now, Travis Kelce is the best tight end, but he's not the number one paid tight end because he signed his deal a couple of years ago. The best player at a position is oftentimes not the highest paid when you're looking at average per year. Right now, I think we can all agree that Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. But being that Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson have more recently signed contracts, and they only signed for 6 years as opposed to 10, Patrick Mahomes is not, quote unquote, the highest paid quarterback from a percentage standpoint. That's what happens. I mean, I said this on my reaction video for Hockenson. When Kirk Cousins signed his deal, was he the best quarterback in the NFL? No, he wasn't.
But he was the highest paid.
But he was the latest guy to get a deal. And 5 minutes later, Matt Ryan, he trumped him because he was just coming off of going to the Super Bowl a couple years ago, and they paid him a bucket load of money. So, again, I think, to quote Ted from Vikings Report with Drew and Ted, there's just ESAT Nation. Everything sucks all the time. We got to complain about something all the time. Yes, the Vikings are in a salary cap mess, and they're going to be for another year or two because guess what? It took 5 years to get to this mess. The idea that we were going to be out of the mess in 2 years, sorry, it just wasn't going to happen. So I agree with a couple of the commenters there. What's up, Zone? Kwesi's doing the best he can with trying to keep the team competitive and trying to clean up a mess. You know, if you have a $10,000 credit card debt and you still spend the way you've been spending to accumulate that debt, no matter what you do, you're still going to have debt. You have to change a little bit of your spending habits in order for that credit card balance to go down. Same thing with the salary cap. Rick Spielman would have found a way to keep Adam Thielen and Dalvin Cook and Zadarius Smith and Patrick Peterson. He would have found a way. He would have just pushed more dead money.
It'd been like the Saints where they're pushing money out for 5-6 years. Yep.
Exactly. So, no, this is a good move for Hockenson. I'm guessing his ears feel better. I'm guessing his back has never been better. He's in the best shape of his life. We can put that joke to bed finally. Yeah, okay, he was holding in, but he was still doing so. Who cares? It's done. Let's move on and let's be happy that we got a good player for 5 more years.
Now, what I want to highlight a previous comment, SKOL Purple Podcast said, I don't think the Vikings would have offered TJ the deal if they would have felt it prevented them from extending JJ. And you are 100% correct. They would not have if that was the case. But we're going to move on to, besides keeping, the whole locker room cool and the tight end room cool, and the tight end room is pretty functional. You've got Hockenson, who's your primary pass catcher, who Kirk Cousins absolutely slobbers over because, he's there, the security blanket. You brought in Josh Oliver, who's the big bruising blocker type who can catch on occasion. I like to think maybe he's like the Jimmy Kleinsasser back there, but we'll see. And then you have the best third tight end in the league, and Johnny Munt, and you have Nick Muse, who's a little bit slippery himself.
Yeah.
So they have a lot of things that they can do. We expect more 12-man schemes coming up this year, and it's going to be fun. I love the way they put that together, kept that together, and it's going to be fun to see how that works out. But not in just the tight end room. It also affects Justin Jefferson, right? And not just, TJ Hockenson's contract's going to affect Justin Jefferson's contract. Well, that's true too, right? But it's also going to affect it on how everybody plays on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a little review, right? When the Minnesota Vikings last year, we had our start. Suddenly, Irv Smith gets hurt again, which is a common thing.
Yeah,
for
and
his
oh, by
career.
the way, the sun rose in the east that day too, by the way.
Yes. And so Kwesi went out and traded for TJ Hockenson, right? And got him, second round pick from the Detroit Lions. And Detroit was happy to get rid of him. And Detroit this week has been, see, you guys had to pay him. We didn't want to pay him. And I was like, thanks. Appreciate it. But the Vikings, prior to TJ Hockenson, were averaging 6.2 yards in the air per attempt. After TJ Hockenson, it jumped to 8.3 yards per attempt. And we saw the production of the offense pick up. That's what we want. We want an offensive powerhouse. Hell, we want a mighty defense as well. But an offensive powerhouse is fun to watch. And if we can score 30 points a game like I preached all this offseason, we can win a lot of football games. And the fact that he's there and that he takes some of the pressure off of JJ, because they were doubling and tripling JJ, and that's not going to stop. They're probably still going to do that. But they had TJ to defeat them underneath and get the ball advanced and, the medium routes and stuff like that. TJ's not going to be your down the field burner.
No.
Right? But he's going to get you the short yardage or medium yardage that he needs to, as long as it's thrown past the sticks on the medium yardage. He's going to get that. He has the capability. And he has the capability of breaking tackles and doing things, we love seeing. That helps JJ because the defense now has to go, shit. I wanted to put 3 on JJ, but I can't put 3 on JJ because I got to dedicate 1 to TJ. And we're going from there. Well, now enter this season. TJ is under contract. TJ is happy. TJ can't wait to catch footballs, right? JJ, on the other hand, is sitting there going, oh, I'm going to set records, baby. Why? Because you have a pissed off KJ Osborne that's ready to not diminish his wide receiver 2 route. And you have the young rookie, Jordan Addison, getting ready to catch everything that's thrown at him. And as long as his diminutive size doesn't hinder him and he gets injured, this is going to be fun because there's no way any defense is going to be able to cover all 4 of those guys. None. And if you want to play it heavy, if you want to play heavy against the pass, we'll go heavy on the line with 12 formations, and we'll run the ball right up your. That's why I say I think 30 points is there. 30 points a game is there. And I think part of that, locking in TJ, happy, offensive life. And we're going to have a happy JJ, hopefully. But the whole idea of TJ being there helps. Do you disagree?
Not at all. I think this was a matter of circumstance and a classic. This does benefit both teams. Yes, you could make the argument that from a fiscally financial, conservative, responsible way, the Vikings would have been better off taking a tight end in the second round who would have been on a rookie contract. Okay, but you're ignoring that this trade was made at the if this trade was made in the offseason, that argument holds a lot more water. But it was made during the regular season where you had started out hot. You had put eggs in the Irv Smith Jr. basket that once again got scrambled and went all to heck in a handbasket. And you brought in a guy that helped your team right then and there. So yes, to the Lions fans that say, hey, we took this guy in the first round, we used up his rookie contract, and we got a second round pick in return for him, and we drafted his replacement. That's all well and good. For where your team is at, that's a good move on your part. Just because it's a good move on one team's part doesn't necessarily mean it has to have been a bad move on the other team's part. Quickly, Diggs for Justin Jefferson. It was a good move for Buffalo at the time to get Stephon Diggs and pair him with an up-and-coming Josh Allen. They have been to the playoffs every year. They've been to the divisional round every year and an AFC title game where they lost to Patrick Mahomes.
They're considered contenders every year.
They've been contenders for this entire time. Yeah, in hindsight, could you have said, well, if Buffalo had just kept their pick and drafted Justin Jefferson, they'd be in the same spot? Well, you don't know that at the time. So at the time, it was a good move. Diggsy is doing what Diggsy does and is getting bored with his current location after about 3 years for the second time. Shocker. But just because it's a good move for one team doesn't necessarily mean it has to have been, well, that means it was a bad move for their team. Sometimes it can be good for both sides. Mm-hmm. So, let the Lions do what the Lions fans do. I mean, they don't know what else to do with themselves. They actually are, thinking they have a shot of winning this division, which go ahead and let them.
We'll get into that a little bit later.
Yeah. But all I'm saying is you made a move in midseason to replace a player that had gotten hurt that you knew was not going to come back. And I think the only thing he actually did was catch a touchdown in that Giants game. I don't remember him doing anything else since Irv Smith Jr. got back from his injury. So no, it was a good move to get him, and it was a good move to keep him, and it was a good price. They didn't overpay. They didn't get a sweetheart deal, but they didn't overpay. They paid market value. It's end of discussion there.
Right. So. And another thing with TJ is TJ's going into his prime. You've heard me say ad nauseum, you draft a tight end for their next team. Well, we're his next team. He is reaching. Tight ends don't usually reach their prime until about their 4th year. He's entering that spot. And we already know he's good.
Yes.
He's damn good. And he's just getting better. So I am quite pleased with how all this worked out. And I do think it's going to help Justin Jefferson. I do. It shows him the Vikings are willing to pay, right? And they've said that, and we'll get into that in the next theme. But I think because he's there, TJ's there, right? And he was going to be there anyways, but because he's happy in there,
right?
Being happy, and as Davey said, don't count out KJ, and I'm not counting out KJ. I think he's going to play with a chip on his shoulder.
Absolutely.
And I'm not counting out Jordan Addison because I think that kid's special. I worry about his size. And I'd love to see Jalen Naylor. That name was brought up. He's your speed deemer. Go deep, right? I think this could be a powerhouse offense. Now, Zoe said it depends on who we play. Yes, so it does. There are some good defenses out there. But I still think we can, even against good defense, put up a lot of points. So that's going to be the key. It's to stay efficient, not get behind on the count like we did last year. Stay efficient, and then bang, 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 bang. I think we're going to all be happy when it comes down to the end of the season, and we look back and go, that was the right move.
The only thing on offense that concerns me, and we've talked about it, we won't get too much on it right now, is the interior of the offensive line. Somebody I was chatting with said, well, how do you think teams are going to defend all these weapons? Jefferson, Osborne, Addison, TJ, and the running game by committee. I said, the best defense against Justin Jefferson isn't somebody like Sauce Gardner or Jair Alexander. The best defense is a nose tackle like Aaron Donald and Dexter Lawrence. You notice all the games that JJ had 100-plus yards versus the games where he had 40 yards or less, it wasn't that some cornerback shut him down like he was Darrelle Revis or Deion Sanders. It's that the defensive line got to Kirk Cousins. That's how you stop Justin Jefferson, is get to Kirk Cousins. You don't stop Justin Jefferson straight up. So,
right, for the most part.
For the most part. So that's my only – that is like the one concern on offense I have. And it's a big one, but it's the only one.
And I hope it's better. But overall, the trade for Hockenson, the extending of his contract, shows commitment to building this team, Kwesi building this team, wanting to build a winning team. KOC, is running this offense. It's all his vision. I think it shows commitment that we haven't seen since 2018, right? And then they started gutting the defense. It shows commitment. It shows commitment on the right side of the ball, the offense. And I think the Vikings are positioning themselves to be reckoned with for years to come. Kirk Cousins or not, we're going to be ready because you have all these guys in place. Even if we bring in a rookie quarterback next year, that rookie quarterback's going to be in a place he can succeed because of all these good weapons around him.
Yes.
So I think it's a great move, and I love the commitment. And you know what? Speaking of commitment, are you guys out there fan of the Vikings? I know you all are. That's why you're watching us. But you could also be a fan of another team, and you happen to be watching us because your Vikings friend shared the show with you. Right? That's cool. We'll take anybody. We'll take our enemies watching. We don't care. But we want to let you know that if you wish to see a week 1 game of your choice, and if you're in the Minnesota area, obviously it's Minnesota versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next Sunday. Fans First Sports is giving away four tickets of your choice up to $5,000. Let me do the math. Carry the one. That's $1,250 a ticket. That gets you primo seats in just about any stadium in the NFL, much less U.S. Bank Stadium. But there are 4 tickets of your choice you have a chance to win. Heck, like I said, you could take the best seat in the house and send your 3 buddies up in the nosebleeds. I don't care. But it'd be a great time to have, and you have a chance to win. You ask me, how do you win, Dave? Well, you go over to contest.fansfirstsports.com and fill out the appropriate information. That's it. Go to contest.fansfirstsports.com and fill out the appropriate information. Once you've done that, you're in. Now, you don't have much time to do that, though. You have today and you have tomorrow, and then it's done. They will announce the winner. Hopefully, it's a Vikings fan. So make sure you get over there, contest.fansfirstsports.com, and I will throw that in the remarks real quick. Right here. All you got to do is go over, fill it out, and get primo seats. And even if right now you have your own seats, hey, 4 more would be sweet. So, and there it is. I just posted it. That's all you got to do is go over there and get your chance to win. And I wish you luck. I wish I could do it. We can't do it because we're part of Fans First Sports Network. But I wish you luck. Now, we're going to head on to theme 3, which is about the Justin Jefferson contract. But first, I need to take a 1-bar break. And then those of you that won't watch 1 Bar and Lopicus know exactly what I'm referring to. I will be right back. Justin, entertain the folks, answer their questions, and tell them what you think.
Well, normally on my lives, I interact a little bit more with the chat, but this great discussion today has allowed, unfortunately, me to get a little behind on this. So want to say hello and thank you to everybody. I'm going to go through as many names as I can see. SKOL Mafia in the building. Davey Chains is in the building. Raymond is in the house. My Worthless Opinion, the single greatest Twitter, Facebook, YouTube handle of all time, because your opinion is rarely, if ever, pointless. Certainly not on any show that I appear. Patrick is in the building. Norsevius. Yes, Norsevius, I know. I have to cut up my latest episode of Curmudgeon and Punk, so I had to leave it down. I'm working on the flag. Norsevius got me a flag with my logo on it, and I'm going to get that hung up here soon, so I appreciate you. I want to mock Bob is in the building. Thank you kindly, Bob, as always, for joining us. Travis, what's going on? Good to see you. Aaron just got back from Arlington with the Twins win. Oh, great. Twins swept the Texas Rangers. Awesome. Raymond, we're the Frozen North. Good to see you as well. Dalton, good to see you. This is the first time I've seen you. So thanks again kindly for joining us. Mateo was in the building as well. Who else we got in here? Who else we got? SKOL Purple Podcast. We had a comment up from you earlier. Terry, nice to see you as well. And if I've missed anybody, Patrick, I think I said hello, but I'll say hello to you again. Dave, one of the questions I'm going to throw back at you is we forgot to say early, but I'll get it to you. In the zone, we have you as well. Oh, yes, the temperature, 100 degrees? Yeah, it's 97 where I'm at, so I suppose that's not all that surprising. SKOL for Life is here. I think I got everybody. If I missed you, I apologize because there's just so many. I'm scrolling as fast as I can. I think I got to the end. If I didn't hit you, put another comment in there and we'll get you there. But the question on the table, Dave, what you drinking? Normally I'm in the chat and I'm asking, so I forgot. What you drinking, Dave?
Still Austin, which is distilled and down here in Austin, Texas, thus the name. This is the Artist Series. It is their straight rye whiskey. It is a, what's the proof on this baby? 99.6 proof. And it is delicious.
99.6. Body temperature, as they say.
Yep. Now, people asked me last week, what's Texas funk? I always say I love whiskeys with Texas funk. And this has Texas funk as well. Well, Texas funk comes from the aging process. Because whiskeys brewed here, and any good whiskeys, bourbons or whiskeys are generally are distilled using water that comes through limestone, and we have a bunch of it here in Texas. They have a bunch of it in Kentucky and Tennessee. That's why that's your traditional best spots. But we have that too. But one of the part of the funk is they try to use ingredients that are grown locally, whether it be rye, whether it be corn, what type of corn, and they're trying to get away from the yellow, typical yellow corn. The type of wheat, whatever they're using in their mash bills, they try to do locally. You get the local flavor of the ground that way. But the funk, a lot of the funk comes from the weather down here and the aging of the bourbon or the rye, the whiskeys in the barrel. Now, a bourbon in particular requires to go into a fresh American oak barrel. That's by regulation. It has to be American oak barrel, brand new virgin oak. They char it. They burn out the insides. That's what gives you your caramel color. And they pour the whiskey in, and then it's got to mature a minimum 2 years to be a bourbon. Well, a lot of them go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, however many, right? And people think, oh, man, that's a 24-year-old, and it may not taste as good. Well, here in Texas, the whiskey ages faster in the barrel because of the temperature ranges that we go through and the heat and everything else, and it absorbs into the wood greater because we're hotter. We're hotter in the summer, right? And then it keeps aging because it only stops aging in about 40 degrees. It keeps aging almost all year round. Whereas in Kentucky, when they store the barrels in the barrel houses, they'll age during the summer, and then when it hits wintertime and they stop and they rest, right? And the whiskey comes back out of the wood, and it's a different type of aging process. The bottle of whiskey I bought Tyler, which you'll see tomorrow night, was aged in Minnesota, which is a little bit different. But it's all because of that aging process here. We tend to get more of the wood because it's more concentrate, and we call it the funk. You can taste it. It's different than a Kentucky bourbon. A Texas bourbon has a different flavor to it, and I like it. That's what a Texas funk is, and that's what they call it. It's just different, and it's good.
One of these days, I'll have to try a Texas. I don't have access to those up here. And for the record, for those asking, I'm just sipping on a Coors Light. Yeah. I don't have any great stories like Dave just did about the Coors Light drinker here, but at the end of the day, y'all came for some Vikings. But great, thank you for that whole breakdown. I just go to the liquor store and buy some. I don't know about all these aging processes and
I'll
how
bet
this
you
all
got
stuff
some
gets
Texas
done.
whiskeys up there that you can get.
I'll
have to
go
look. Total Wine and more. If not, Tyler can hook you up.
I'm
I
sure,
know
yeah,
he
I'll get
knows
in touch
what to
with him.
look.
Yes.
Now, back to the show.
Real quick. So anyway, thank you everybody for joining us. If you haven't already done so, hit that like button. I believe we got almost 50 people in here, and I think there's only 25 likes. Hit that like button. That helps the channel. It helps push the episode out both during the lives and afterwards, and helps grow the community. And if you haven't already subscribed to Vikings First and SKOL on the YouTube page, what are you waiting for? Hit that sub button. And oh, by the way, if you haven't subscribed to me on Purple and Gold for Days, hit the sub button over there too, if you all don't mind. But in all seriousness, theme next, where are we at, Davey?
Justin Jefferson, is he next to get the extension? Right? We started the show with, we got our roster together. Everything was cool. We got TJ's extension made, popped out of the nowhere, right? Suddenly they announced it at their press conference, surprised everybody. That this is one difference between Kwesi and Spielman. Spielman, there was sort of a run-up, and we know about it ahead of time. This time it was, hey, we're having a presser. Oh, by the way, we just signed TJ Hockenson. Are we going to get a, oh, by the way, Justin Jefferson just signed? We'll have him on later this afternoon. Right?
I don't think so. I think that one's going to get leaked a day or two before it's official. I don't think that they're going to be able to keep that one under wraps, but I get your point.
Now, obviously, JJ has been the Vikings star wide receiver. He is the best wide receiver in the NFL. Anybody that tells you otherwise is full of smoke, right? Now, there's some arguments, but they're full of smoke. Anyways, he set records for the first 3 years he's been in the league. He's going to continue to set records as long as he's healthy while he's in the league. No matter who his quarterback is, he's going to do that. Hey, Drewster. So,
hey, Drew.
There's a concerted effort to get him signed prior to this season. This is the first time he's eligible to do that. There's a concerted effort to do that. And the Vikings have even told us, we want to get him signed, whether it be Kwesi, whether it be KOC, or even Mark Wilf saying, no, we want to sign him. So what are we talking about when we sign him? Negotiations between the two sides have been ongoing. All the reports have indicated, and they've been positive and they've been productive. The Vikings desire to extend him, yes. Now, and it's understandable given who he is and his incredible production and his numbers of receptions and how many yards and everything else. And, hey, Steven, good morning over there.
Yeah, really, and, good morning.
It's Monday in Australia, and good morning. And so, the Vikings want him. He wants to be here. But I think he also wants to be the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. And so him being part of our offense is vital because he accounts for a league-leading 37.5% of the team's receiving yards. That's almost 40%. That's damn. I mean,
that's the Randy ratio.
Yeah, I was about to say, it harkens back to the Randy ratio. And that was just forcing him the ball, with Randy. Because when Randy caught the ball, we were successful. That made sense. The meathead got that right. So 37.5% on one player not being a quarterback, that's amazing. Of course you want him. But what's the price tag? Highest paid wide receiver is Tyreek Hill, who averages per year APY of $30 million. But like I said, JJ doesn't want 30. He wants to be the highest non-QB player. Well, can we expect him to get at least 30? Oh, yeah. 30's the basement. bottom. Now, remember, I want you to keep in mind, everybody, TJ Hockenson, I told you, has 7.34% of the cap pie at 17.125 APY. Double that gets you 34 and a quarter. And that would put you at roughly 15% of the cap of that pie. Is JJ worth 15% when he's generating 37.5% of the offense?
Yes. In a word, yes. It's not even close.
I think so. I think you paid the man. Now, like I said, he wants to be the highest non-QB paid. Now, who is higher as a higher non-QB? Right now, you have Aaron Donald, interior defensive lineman, who's making 31.2 66666667 APY. So, to be the highest, he has to be over or close to that $32 million a year mark. Okay, cool. I'm fine with that. Let's pay him $32 million a year. Let's do it. And Drew said you have to pay JJ. No way around it. You got that, Drew. And Drew, your quarterback looked good yesterday, by the way.
He didn't look too bad. He didn't look too bad.
You're going to beat Tyreek Hill at 30. The only other problem is Nick Bosa is also up for an extension. Nick Bosa wants to be the highest paid non-QB in the league. Nick Bosa is reportedly asking $34 to $35 million APY. That's a lot of money, right?
Well, yeah.
Now, the Bosa and the Niners are saying they're about $4 million off. There's a gap there. Okay, cool. Get it down. Give Bosa 32. Call him good. And then pay Justin 32 and a half. I'm happy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Simple, right? But life isn't so simple.
No, of course not.
When is it ever so simple? Now, do the Vikings have the Vikings, do they have to sign him? What do you think?
Justin Jefferson isn't simply the best wide receiver in the NFL. He's the best wide receiver on the planet. He is absolutely the Vikings franchise right now. Okay. Randy Moss had that mantle for a while. Adrian Peterson had that mantle for a while. Obviously, I don't know that there was a franchise player back in the 70s during the Purple People Eater days because they were an incredible line. Plus, you had Fran Tarkenton. Bottom line, there's no discussion here. The only thing the Vikings should be doing is, all right, can we get JJ's agent and Bosa's agent on the phone at the same time and say, guys, we know you both want that one day where you can say, I got my client the biggest non-quarterback contract ever. But come on, here's what's going on right now. Bosa's waiting for JJ and JJ's waiting for Bosa. Their agents are, excuse me. Let's just be clear. JJ is willing to sign his deal right now, and I'm sure Nick Bosa is too. And of course, there's all this negotiating back and forth, and because again, each one of them is waiting for the other one to say, okay, now I've got a baseline, and now I know how many millions I have to get another $500,000 on top of so I can take the mantle. We'll see what happens. But to answer your question, is there an upper limit to where at that point it's too much? Yes. 35 is not that upper limit. I wouldn't want to pay him $40 million because I think that's too high. But if it's 35 to 36, yeah,
what if I can talk you into $40 million and give you a reason why?
I would do it. Don't get me wrong. Would I do it? Yes. But now you're right up to that. Okay.
Right.
Boy.
Let me talk to you right. First off, the Vikings don't have to sign him before week 1. They don't have to sign him.
That's
an
very
extension.
True.
We still have time. We have control for him for 2 years, right? And we'll pay him his $2.4 million salary this year, and then next year it'll be 19.7, and then the 2 years after that we can slap tags on him and it'll still be cheaper than probably what he get his extension for. But we don't want to do that because we want to take care of our players, and we want the Minnesota Vikings to be a destination spot for players. They obviously do that because they spend enough money on it. They got the facilities, they bring in the people, they do the food, they do the chefs, they do everything right to health so that they can take care of their players, and that everybody wants to come to Minnesota and play so we can get the best talent in. So they're not going to play the hardball deal where we've got basically control of you for the next 4 years, whether you like it or not.
Right.
And we can save money that way.
Terrible.
Just like with TJ Hockenson, they could have said, you're going to play this year, and next year we're going to throw the tag on you, whether you like it or not. And by the way, if they would have done that, they would have had to spend more money than they did right now with that extension.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't get into that, but that was a good deal. Yes, Davy Chains, Alan Page was awesome back in the day. MVP. Yeah. Now, the way they might talk JJ, or JJ might talk them into a 40-year deal. All right. I wrote down here, what are the sticking points? You named the big one. Agent for Joey Bosa saying, my guy's going to be the top paid. He's waiting on JJ to get paid so he can bump his up. JJ's agent's saying, my guy's going to be the top paid. I'm waiting on Bosa's agent. Right. So they get paid and then I get to bump them up. So they're waiting on each two, which is bullshit. You wish you could take both their heads and go smash. Let's get this done.
Right.
That's one of the problems. The other major problem is the length of the contract. Because JJ is young, the Vikings want at least a 5-year deal, right? If not 6 or more. And I would love to see 6 or more.
Oh, absolutely.
To lock him in. JJ is saying, no, I'm taking 3 max because I want to come back out and be available to get a second ginormous payday. Well, if he gets 3, you're only paying him just barely above whatever Joey Bosa gets and calling it good. But if you go, all right, Brzezinski gets down with his guys and goes, all right, we don't care what Bosa's going to do because they're not going to match this. There's no way. For that long-term deal that takes capflation into consideration, we'll offer you $40 million APY right now, signing on right here for at least 6 years. Does he take it?
I don't know that he would. I definitely agree with you that I would do that deal in a heartbeat. Aside from the fact that, well, it is.
Quarter of $1 billion.
Yeah. I would do that deal because it gives you the one thing you never had with Kirk Cousins in his contract, regardless of how much of JJ's is guaranteed. It gives you the flexibility that, say, a Patrick Mahomes with his 10-year deal does, where you've got years to push money down the road, and it's not just offering him void years to push money down the road. It's actually just moving it into another year where you're under contract. So if they went 6 years, 40 million, yeah, I would do that. Now, would I do 3 years at 40 million? That's where I was saying earlier. Oh boy,
no, that's where you're getting the battle of Bosa.
For 6 years, absolutely. But if he only wants 3, I would say 35 would be my limit, or maybe I get you to 37 if you get it to 4 years, something like that.
Right. But I would use that as a negotiation tactic. And I think hopefully Rob Brzezinski's thought of this, and Kwesi and they've already proposed this. But don't be surprised if you see some super astronomical number, because there's no way Bosa's going to get that much money. He doesn't. It's not going to happen. JJ could, but it's got to be tied to longevity of the contract. Is how I see that playing out. Otherwise, they're going to be right about the same, and it'll be a 3-year contract, so he can hit it again.
But
and
to
will
your
we find
point
out
earlier,
by Saturday? End of day Saturday? I hope so.
I hope so. But to your point earlier about where you were talking about TJ Hockenson and Hey, if you don't sign this deal, we'll franchise you next year. Nick Bosa is 1 year ahead of JJ. He's in the same class as TJ Hockenson, where right now he is on his 5th-year option, whereas JJ is still on year 4 of his rookie contract and has his 5th-year option next year. So to your point, Nick Bosa is in a more desperate situation, so to speak, from a timing standpoint. Because like you said, if JJ doesn't get done, he's still got 2 years before the
get it done
franchise
next
tag.
year. Yeah.
Right. You want to get it done because you want JJ to be happy. You want to know how much he's going to cost you. And oh, by the way, you also want to lock in on this year's rates, because if you're talking about $40 million over 6 years, assuming you don't finagle the salary cap and make moves where you have to move money around, 6 years from now, $40 million for JJ is going to be a steal. Kind of like what we were talking about TJ Hockenson earlier.
Uh-huh.
You know what? You can look at those numbers and say 19 and 20 million on the last 2 years. Well, yeah, but that's 3 years from now where the salary cap will be 300 million. And all of a sudden, to your point, percentage of the salary cap will remain the same. So, yeah, I would do either one of those deals. I would do either one of those because it's not going to go down. And what I like about Justin Jefferson, and I said this about a month ago, is he's not Stephon Diggs. He's not Randy Moss. He's not a diva wide receiver. I loved when he got to camp, even though he didn't do the voluntary portion, whatever, I don't care. When they asked the question, he shut it down immediately. He said, I'm here to play football. I'm here to help this team win games and win a Super Bowl. The contract will play itself out. That's with my agent. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Bravo.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's leadership.
And he's
That's
obviously
leadership.
Focused on it on the field. I mean, you see him practicing like it's everything he has to do has going towards winning that Super Bowl. He looks better this year. He's not waiting on anything. And he didn't do the, I got an earache. That practice. Oh.
Now, in fairness, like we just said, but in fairness, JJ's a year behind TJ and Bosa.
Right.
So we have to, keep that in mind as well. But I remember Judd Zolgad saying when he was out there watching practice that Judd's like, I almost want to go up to Justin and say, dude, slow down. This isn't the NFC Championship game. This is August. You don't need to be going that crazy. But that's who he is. That is who he is. He's the unquestioned leader of this team. And again, I don't mean to have that come across as a slight to the quarterback, but he is the leader of this team. He is the franchise player. He is the Kevin Garnett.
Now, my worthless opinion, I don't think that's the case. No. I think he wants to remain a Viking.
Here's the thing, Worthless. That's a good point to ask. It's a good point to ask, though. Part of the NFL and their collective bargaining agreement having a hard salary cap means that the advantages that big markets have in other sports, like baseball, for example, that has no salary cap, there is a reason why in baseball the large market teams are in the hunt year in and year out, and smaller market teams have pop-up seasons once or twice a decade. And when a team like the Kansas City Royals wins the World Series, wow, a small market team actually won the World Series. In the NFL, if they didn't have a salary cap, Green Bay could not survive in a non-salary capped league. Mm-hmm. So every team in the NFL has the same amount of money to play with. I saw some comments earlier about ticket prices going up. That's going to happen regardless of JJ signing his deal or not, right? Because everybody plays by the same rule book, so to speak. Yeah, so it's a good question, though, but inflation. No, it doesn't. Yeah.
Now, the one thing that big market teams can offer versus smaller market teams is off-field advertising possibilities, more of that.
Sure.
But that's it. But big market teams also come generally with more hard-ass media and fan bases. They'll tear your butt up in a heartbeat. They don't care. You produce or you're done. And a lot of players can't handle that heat.
Yeah. We'll see how well Aaron Rodgers does with the New York media as compared to the Green Bay media. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all duckies and bunnies right now. But come next Sunday, I should look at. Do you remember who do they play next? Who do they play week 1? Who do the Jets play?
I don't remember. I want to say it's maybe like Buffalo or something.
The point is that if the Jets don't win that first game, Whoever
yeah.
they're playing. We'll see how Aaron Rodgers loves the New York media as opposed to the Green Bay media here. Again, didn't want to go down too much of that road, but to Worthless's a question about bigger markets and that what. Oh yeah, they play the Monday Night Football game against the Bills. Yeah,
That's right. That's what
okay,
I'm saying.
yeah. So
And
yeah,
they may
we'll see if
lose.
the Bills win that game. How Aaron Rodgers is turning up the media questions. Then we'll see. But anyway.
Now, on to theme 4, because I told you everybody it's going to be a longer show today. I'm taking this from Darren. He has a section called Quick Hitters. We're going to go over a few quick hitters. First one, NFC North is always an interesting division to watch. As the 2023 season approaches us, coming here on Sunday, actually on Thursday for the NFC North, there are many talking points and questions we can explore. How dominant will the NFC North fare against the rest of the NFC this season? Will the NFC North be one of the stronger divisions in the NFC? Now, the NFC as a whole is considered rather weak, but there are few favorites, i.e. the Eagles and the San Francisco 49ers. But how will the North be viewed? Do you think they can be a dominant force amongst the NFC? Because we think the South is going to suck. The West only has the Niners. You might throw in the Seahawks, but the Rams are going to suck. And we talk about the Cardinals tanking. And in the East, you have the Eagles. You got the Cowboys who could pop up because they've got the Dak version of Kirk Cousins. Mm-hmm. And, the Redskins maybe. The Giants, really? They're not playing against the Donashell defense this year.
I was about to say, where's Donashell, coach? That'll determine how the New York Giants fare this season.
How do you think, Justin, the NFC North is going to, when we get to the end of the season, how is the NFC North going to be looked at as a division within the NFC? Well, throw out the AFC. AFC is stacked. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But within the NFC, how's the NFC North going to look to you?
I'll just go in reverse order. I agree. The NFC South might be the worst division in football. So they're going to get a team into the playoff dance simply because they won their division. I'm going to put the NFC North as the third best division. I am going to put the East number 1. I mean, that's pretty obvious. I'm going to take the conglomerate of San Francisco and Seattle over Minnesota and Detroit. I don't think Green Bay. I think Green Bay is going to win 6 games or fewer. I really do. Lightning rarely strikes twice. It's certainly not going to strike 3 times. Jordan Love is mediocre at best. What's up, Duncan? And I think the Bears are a year or 2 away. I think the Vikings and Lions are both going to be contenders for the playoffs. I think the Vikings are going to win this division. I can see the Lions squeaking in as a wild card. So I think Dallas is going to get in as a wild card. I think Seattle and Detroit are going to be the other 2 wild cards. So it really comes down to answer your question, how will they fare? Some would argue that maybe the Vikings can pass San Francisco if Brock Purdy's injury lingers or if the league starts to figure him out, and he was on an influential run last year, but it was a one-hit wonder. But right now, I would say the North slightly at the 3 spot below the West, because both of those divisions have 2 teams that are absolutely awful. And we all have a tough schedule. Everyone wants to talk about first place schedule versus last place schedule. It only differs by 3 games.
Right.
The rest of the NFC North is still going to face Kansas City and the AFC West. It's not like the Vikings are the only team facing Kansas City this year. All 4 of us are. Same thing with the NFC South. We're all going to face that garbage division. And then obviously we face each other. So that's 14 of your 17 games. Yes, the Vikings, of course, have a harder time because we have to play San Francisco, Cincinnati, and Philadelphia versus the rest of the teams playing the lesser teams in those divisions. But I think this division will be a solid division, but I'm still going to put it 3rd out of 4, but barely 3rd out of 4. I think it's close between 2nd and 3.
Well, Vegas they have the Detroit Lions favored at 9.5 wins, which I think, okay, fine. They have a second at 8.5, which I think they're completely wrong. I would take the over if I was
I would too.
wagering.
Yes.
Because like I said, I think this offense can produce 30-plus points a game. And if we score 30-plus points a game, we're winning more than 9 games easy. I think we're in the 10 to 12 range. They have the Bears at 7.5, and they have the Packers at 7.5. So now the question is, there's all the hype and love fest about Detroit. Oh, Detroit. It's been so long. They're finally
Aren't you a
getting
cute
it.
little club?
They won all those games at the end of the season last year. What a story it is. Oh, they're going to win the division. Yes. And as I talked about on the FFSN NFC North podcast, which debuts Tuesday morning, I go, hey, June's the guy that runs the Detroit Lions site.
Sure.
I said, hey, June, when was the last time the Lions won the division? And he goes, oh, wasn't that under Barry Sanders or Megatron? I said, last time they won the division was when we were the NFC Central and Tampa Bay was part of our division. He goes, really? I said, yep.
Yeah.
I said, you've made the playoffs since then. Rarely.
Yes.
But you have not won the division since then. He's like, oh. And he's not one of those Lions fans. He comes to it more realistically than most, podcasters, right? Sure. I tend to give it a, purple tint to some of my commentary. I try to be realistic, but I sometimes give it a purple tint. And he's like, he goes, he wouldn't take the bet that they're going to win 9.5 or favored by 9.5. He goes, we'll see. I said, yeah. I go, they could. And the Vikings could still beat them for the division championship, which I suspect. I hope they do. And then we got to, of course, Green Bay. Green Bay was favored at 7.5. And believe it or not, the guy that covers Green Bay is like, hey, I'd be happy if they won that many. He goes, I don't know. Love is a question mark. I said, yeah, love is a question mark. I hope you win that many. He goes, you do? Mm-hmm. I said, yes, because I don't want you drafting at the top of the round next year.
Exactly. That's why I said I want him to win 6. Just enough to keep you mediocre, just enough for you to say to yourselves, okay, did Jordan Love show us that he doesn't have it, or do we need to give him another year or two to really answer the question? Because if you win 3 games, if you're the Packers, Jordan Love's not it. Mm-hmm. If you win 8 games, okay, you thinking to yourself, we might have something here. So like I said, give him 6. Give him 6 or 7.
Yeah, and I'd even go with 8 as long as he sits there at that mediocre range where they're fighting just like Chicago. Justin Fields is so good. Look at him run.
Yeah.
He's a great running back. I agree. He's a quarterback, Dave. Well, how's his throwing? Oh, it's getting better.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
I got a
Notice they haven't committed to him beyond this year.
Yeah. I have said that I would have liked if remember Rick Spielman was interested in Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields isn't as bad as he has appeared to be. I don't think he's anywhere close to the level of the hype that he's getting right now, but he hasn't had a whole lot of infrastructure around him. And yeah, if you put him on the Vikings with KOC, with Jefferson and Addison and company, I think he would have something. As it stands right now, I found it hilarious that Dan Orlovsky out of ESPN, that knucklehead that ran out of the back of the end zone in 2008 when Jared Allen was chasing him down, wanted to throw gushing praises at that first preseason game where Justin Fields threw for 129 yards and 3 touchdowns on 3 screen passes where he threw the ball a total of 7 yards past the line of scrimmage. That's the same Dan Orlovsky that ripped Kirk Cousins during the 33-point comeback against the Colts last year when he tweeted out, oh, Nothing like Kirk Cousins being just average during the greatest comeback of all time. Like, dude threw how many touchdowns? Okay, that touchdown to Justin Jefferson, that touchdown to Adam Thielen, that touchdown to KJ Osborne, and the touchdown to Dalvin Cook. Oh, so you're going to downplay Kirk's performance because the game-tying touchdown was a screen pass. Okay, how many screen passes have gone for touchdowns? All of a sudden, the quarterback gets no credit. I'm not saying throw him a bouquet because he threw a quick pass to Dalvin Cook and Dalvin Cook did the rest. That's fine. But be consistent with your evaluation. You're going to blow smoke up Justin Fields' rear end about a preseason game when you downplayed what Kirk Cousins did in the second half against the Colts. I know the Colts were a bad team. I was at that game. It was me and my daughter. It was my daughter's first game that I ever took her to. It was a great it was a great second half. The first half was utterly abysmal, as we all know. I've said this before. If she hadn't been there, I might have considered leaving. It was that bad. And I don't leave. Left. Oh, Judd yes. Left. The couple right next to us, right next to us left at the 2-minute warning of the second quarter. But anyway, all I'm going to say about the Lions and the Packers is you're going to have to show – and the Bears, you're going to have to show me something first. You're going to have to show me something. We talked off air where it's like a golfer who through his first 9 holes shoots 8 over par and is completely out of the game. Is completely out of the tournament. But on the back 9, he shoots 7 under. Oh, wow. What a nice second half of the round. Yeah, because there's no pressure on you anymore.
Right.
When there was pressure on you in the first 9 holes of your round, you sucked. Now that there's no pressure, you were fine. Yes, 13 total air yards, Mateo. Thank you. And I would like to remind folks, yes, Bob, you're right. Judd did leave at halftime. That was hilarious.
And he regretted it.
Yes. It reminds me of the 2020 Minnesota Vikings season. That was the COVID year. We started off 1-5. We had our bye week, and the next week after that, we played Green Bay, and the following week was the trade deadline. And I said, you should probably trade off your pieces that are free agents like Kyle Rudolph and Riley Reif, etc. No. We don't do that. We're going to fight to the end. Hey, we went 6-4 in those last 10 games and got to 7 and bleeping 9. Whoop-de ding dong. What'd we do the next year? Did we continue that 6-4? No, we went 8-9 the next year. So Detroit, great. You had a great second half of your season after starting 1-7. That's all well and good. But you got to show us that you're going to continue that momentum before we're just going to crown you the kings of the North. So no, the Vikings are going to win this division. I think Detroit has a very good chance of being a wild card team. I'll give them that. But the amount of over-the-top praise that the Lions are going to win this division easily. The Vikings are going to go back to a 7-win team because they can't have that much luck. Stop.
I think it's just because it's different and it's new. I mean, when has the national football press gone, ooh, the Lions might be there. They might contend. I mean, it's been decades. That's all. That's just, it's new. There's a whole group. There's a whole generation of fans.
That's true.
Know the Lions
winning a division.
Literally.
Quite literally. Yeah. 1991 was the last time the Lions won a division. It's also the last time the Minnesota Twins won a World Series. Okay. So, I mean, that's all well and good, but, that's fine. I'm glad we have both of our games late in the season. So yes. It won't be you caught us in week 3 where we hadn't put it all together. Everybody will have everything put together. The Vikings defense will be put together. Whatever the Lions are going to be is going to put together. And guess what? We're going to have 2 games in the last 3 against them, and it'll be put up or shut up time then. So
now, speaking of the schedule.
Yeah.
One last bit on the NFC North. Week 1. The Packers played the Bears. And I can't wait to see that game, how that turns out, because and it's at 3:25. So
yes, it's after our game,
and then roll into that game and boo both sides of the team, both sides of that field. I can't wait.
My favorite team is the Vikings. My second favorite team is whoever's playing the Packers. My third favorite team is whoever's playing the Bears. So when they play, it puts you into conflict. But here's what's beautiful as a Vikings fan is no matter what the result is, it's going to be glorious. It's also going to be because, again, if the Packers win that game, all this talk from Bears fans, about how Aaron Rodgers is gone and you don't own us anymore. If Jordan Love comes in and beats the Bears in week 1, I believe it's in Chicago, if I recall correctly.
It is in
somebody
Chicago.
confirm that. If Jordan Love comes into the Bears house week 1 and beats them, oh my gosh, it will be gloriously delicious, and all them Bears fans will go back into hibernation. Now, on the flip side, if the Bears win, okay, we like seeing the Packers lose, but then those Bears fans will be insufferable. Packer fans will be insufferable one way or the other. Doesn't really matter if they win or lose. But yeah, it's going to be one of those games where it's just like anytime the Bears and the Packers play, it's like anytime Jordan Love throws an interception, I'll get joy out of it. But then I'll be like, well, the Bears did something good. And then if Jordan Love throws in, or Justin Fields throws an interception, I'll be like, oh, wait, the Packers did something good.
Yeah.
So it's always putting you in conflict that way. But yes, we'll do the post-game show, and it'll be about halftime by the time we're done, and we'll get to catch the rest of that game.
Now, we're moving on to quick hitters.
Yes,
and this is real quick. The Vikings named their team captains this week. Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, Brian O'Neill, Danielle Hunter, Harrison Smith, Jordan Hicks, Josh Metellus, CJ Ham. And are any surprises to you?
No, I think they got it right. I was a little irritated last year when Jefferson didn't, but at the same time, I get it. Still kind of a younger guy, but no, I think they got it right. You got the veterans, you've got the superstars, you've got the team lead, like you said, CJ Ham. I mean,
and
again,
these are voted on by the players. So
yeah, I think they got it right this year. I have no complaints whatsoever with the team captains. I think they did a very solid job voting.
I did too. Anybody in the remarks think otherwise? Pipe up, we'll let you know. But that brings us to what's happening this week. Vikings first and SKOL. Tomorrow is Monday. So that means we have the Real Forno show at 6 o'clock Central, live on the Vikings first and SKOL YouTube page. Tuesday, we have on the podcast breakdown, I alluded to, we're doing an NFC North centric podcast, and we'll plan on doing this weekly. We'll plan on having it out at the end of the week, but this was the first one. It'll come out Tuesday morning, and you'll hear 4 of us from each of the NFC teams talking about the team and giving you a quick preview. And it'll be out Tuesday morning on your favorite podcast aggregator. You can only get it via podcast. Wednesday, we have the Real Forno show again at 6 o'clock Central. Now, I suspect he'll be looking forward at the Bucs game at that point in time. So we'll see on that. Then we have Thursday. What do we have Thursday, Justin?
Oh, Thursday. That's not a normal day for Vikings first and SKOL.
No, it's not.
What? It's week 1, lid lifter. Vikings first and SKOL, 6 o'clock Central Time, so the normal time slot. Vikings first and SKOL Super Show, where the Real Forno show and Dave and I will have a show leading you into the Thursday night game, the lid lifter between the Lions and the Chiefs. So yes, I'll be back on Thursday with you guys. We'll do a season preview. Maybe we'll go through the schedule one more time, what we're looking for, all those sorts of things. But yes, special episode Thursday on Vikings First and SKOL, 6 p.m. Central Time.
And then on Saturday, we'll have 2 bloggers at 4 o'clock Central, and it'll be me and Darren. And I'll give you a quick Darren update.
Yes.
Darren is still evacuated. He's right now in British Columbia. He's going back to Alberta come Thursday. They are lifting the evacuation notice on, I think it's Wednesday or Thursday. He has to be back up in Yellowknife on Friday. And he's going to be traveling. That's why he can't make the lid lifter on Thursday night. He'll be back. He's got to be back up in Yellowknife on Friday. And so he'll be in place for Saturday's show. And believe me, I've been haranguing him. He knows he misses it too. But the big fire that was to the west, and I've shown you guys the map, that has finally been put in control as of about 2 days ago. I think they finally got the last of the hot spots under control. It's in control, so they're going to be lifting the evacuation order. It's the one that went over the highway. They've got the highway, or they're working on getting it repaired so everybody can come back in. Hopefully there's very minimal damage in the city because the city didn't take a direct hit, thankfully. Thoughts and prayers helped. And so he will be back on Saturday. Now, but that's just Vikings First and SKOL. What have we got coming up on Purple and Gold for days?
Well, we are actually going to get into our weekly schedule. Monday night, 8 p.m., SKOL for Days is the name of my show. During the regular season, it might be 8:15. I'm kind of playing it by ear as to, do I want to start at the 2-minute warning of the Monday Night Football game, or am I just going to go at 8 o'clock? But bottom line, we're just going to say 8 o'clock p.m. All of these are Central Times. Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Central Time, I have a live show, which is a simulcast with my compatriot Dave from Minnesota Sports Talk. The show is called Under the Lights. On that show, we have a wide variety. Sometimes it's just me and Dave arguing about Kirk Cousins. Okay.
Who's going to be there on Tuesday?
Don't know yet. I haven't talked to him about it.
I know.
But sometimes... Oh, you do?
Yes, I do.
Oh, who's going to be there? Oh! Are you going to be there, Dave? Okay, all right. Enough with the bit. But in all seriousness, jokes aside, we have other Vikings content creators on at times. We've had former Viking players, legends. We've had Paul Krause. We've twice had the spin doctor, Chuck Foreman. And we also had Viking punter emeritus Greg Coleman, who was also the sideline reporter for many years. He would have gone for 4 hours if we didn't cut. I mean, he was just a delight to interview. So sometimes former Viking players, sometimes other Viking content creators, and sometimes content creators of the upcoming opponent will sometimes appear on that show. So Tuesday nights, 6:30 to 7:30 Central Time. Sunday, game day, 11 o'clock Central, Purple and SKOL preview show. I will be doing a live episode previewing the game. I will also be doing a simulcast with Rap from Purple Pocket Podcast at 8 p.m. Central Sunday nights. So I do 4 lives a week. I also do contributions to the Vikings First and SKOL podcast feed. I do 2 episodes a week, particularly the one that'll drop on Friday or Saturday is an exclusive. So it is not a cut up from my episodes or my lives on YouTube. So again, that will only be available on the podcast feed there as well. So to quickly recap, Monday nights, ladies and gentlemen, you got the doubleheader. Vikings First and SKOL at 6, Purple and Gold for Days at 8. Tuesday, Purple and Gold for Days at 6:30. Wednesday, Vikings First and SKOL at 6. And then, like I said, Saturday, 2 old bloggers going to the in-season time slots. And then Sunday, I got 2. And we forgot, Dave. 2-minute warning of every Vikings game on Vikings First and SKOL.
Our post-game show. And you know what it's called?
The 2-minute warning?
Live at the 2-minute warning.
Live at the 2-minute warning. And for those who have asked me, now that Dave and I have hammered out the details, I will be on select Vikings First and SKOL 2-minute warning post-game shows. I won't be on all of them due to my scheduling. What I can say is I'll definitely be there week 1, and I will definitely be there for all the primetime games because Rap and I are not going to do a post-game show on primetimes because he's got other obligations as well. As far as the rest of the Sundays, it'll kind of depend on, when I have my daughter and other daddy responsibilities. So as much as I would love to say, yes, I will be there every single week, you got to plan life around it there too. But
and that's okay because we're going to have Tyler and we're going to have Darren as well. And who knows, we may pick up a guest here or there. Who knows? We'll see how that rolls along. But it will always be live at the 2-minute warning.
Beautiful marketing, Dave. Absolutely beautiful.
Hey, it works. Everybody was naming it. We've been talking about it all offseason, wondering what we're going to name it. Everybody's, remember, Vikings First and SKOL, live at the 2-minute warning. So, hey, guess what?
It wrote itself.
The show is live at the 2-minute warning.
And I'll give you guys a sneak preview. Spoiler alert. Not spoiler. No SKOL for life, I'm not. Hit the rewind button. The thumbnail for the shows Dave showed me, and it's bomb. I'm just going to say it's bomb. That being said, tomorrow night, because it is Labor Day, I don't know if I'm going to go live tomorrow night or if I'm going to record ahead of time and premiere it. There will be content tomorrow, but I don't know if it'll be live.
And I need to warn everybody, Tyler's not sure if he's going live tomorrow night as well. So I'm trying to convince him. I don't care. about this as a holiday. I shouldn't say I don't care about holidays. I do care about holidays, but I care more about Vikings. So I'm always willing to talk. So it's but we'll have something tomorrow. Trust me.
Yes. What's up, Vikings game? But just so everybody knows, I might go live depending on if I get back home from the barbecue I'm going to be at with my parents. But I've got some pre-record. I'll just give spoiler alert.
Barbecue ribs.
Oh, don't make me hungry now, Dave. I got 24 hours before I get to eat this stuff. For those of you who have subscribed to my channel, you've seen my episode, The Curmudgeon and the Punk, where I do the dueling identities, the identity crisis, the good versus evil, the light side versus the dark side. Episode 2, redoing it.
Curmudgeon.
The optimist and the optimist, pessimist, curmudgeon, punk, whatever. I've already got that lined up. So if I don't go live, I'll just premiere that episode during the time slot. But if I get back in time, I'll go live and then I'll just premiere that episode the next day. So if you haven't already subscribed to Vikings vs. SKOL on the podcast, Dave said it a million times, but that's very, very important. It's very, very helpful to us because even if you are somebody that comes to the YouTube page and consumes the live, there's other content there that you can't get. And if you've already consumed the episode, after it downloads, just say, oh, played, because I already heard it. That helps us tremendously.
Mm-hmm. And put in when it comes to the podcast side, put in a review. We have very few reviews. We'd love some.
Oh, yes.
It
Leave
helps.
us a review, please.
Now, I don't ask you guys for a whole lot at all. I haven't asked you for money. I haven't asked you. The only thing I basically asked everybody for is like, subscribes, ring the bell, share with your friends, especially your Packers friends, just to piss them off. Right? That's about it. But I've got one thing I need to ask you all today. If you haven't seen a picture of this beautiful woman, this is Miss Mary Fisk. Miss Mary Fisk right now has been in the hospital for the last 4 days or so. I'm asking for your thoughts and prayers. Right now, at this very moment, she's in a MRI machine trying to figure out what the heck's going wrong with her. I believe she's 79 years old. And for a 79-year-old, she's hot, But we all want one before we die. She has been avid about that. She has been avid about supporting what we call Vikings Land, or what I call Vikings Land, whether it be Justin's show, whether it be Dave's show, whether it be our shows, whether it be Yogi's shows, or whomever. She's been there. She's been the matriarch of Vikings Land. But I just want you to know, she is in the hospital, has been for the last few days. Please, please keep her in your thoughts and prayers, that she can be with us to cheer on our first ever Super Bowl. And she sent me a message prior to going into the MRI. She was going to think about being at the Super Bowl parade in February in Minnesota. She wanted us all there to be there. So hopefully they figure out what in the heck's wrong with her and they get it fixed, and she can do that. Like I said, I don't ask you for a whole lot, but I am asking you for this. Thank you all very much.
And Mary, if you're watching this back later after you get out of the machine, I sent you a message, but I did get those packages that you sent me, and they're ready to go for next Saturday. Thank you so much for donating to that. I know JJ in particular, for his portion of that, will be beyond humbled and excited. I figured once you didn't answer my messages that there was something, and thank you, Dave, for confirming what I had thought. But for anybody who's been in this chat, on this podcast, on this show, or on mine, or any of the others that Dave mentioned, Mary is always there and is a stalwart. And I'll be honest with you, when you were in the utter iteration before it was First and SKOL, I always saw her there before I ever started it. And I told this to Mary because I've chatted with her offline. I said, the first time you finally showed up in my channel and said, hi, Justin, I just heard about you. And I was just like, okay, that's Mary. The Mary that is with Dave and Tyler. Like, I appreciate absolutely everybody. And David said this too. Having you guys in that chat putting in your comments, responding to us, throwing jokes, all of that stuff means the world to us. But if you've ever interacted with Mary, you know that she is one of the sweetest human beings, one of the sweetest. I refer to Dave as Grandpa Dave. We refer to Mary as Grandma Mary because it's that respect. It's that
she's the matriarch of Vikings land.
Yes,
without a doubt.
Without question. So hopefully this last couple of minutes ends up being, hey, next week, hey guys, everything's good. Hoping for the best. Wishing you nothing but the best, Mary. We love you and good luck, and reach out when you can.
Mm-hmm. And with that, we're going to end the show. Hey, Sarah. Yeah, I know, Sarah. It feels that way. Hopefully she'll pull through, and the doctors will figure out what the heck it is and get it fixed so that she can watch the Vikings go all the way to the Super Bowl. Baby. With that,
can I get one more in before you go?
Yeah, go ahead.
If you are in the Twin Cities area, next Saturday afternoon from 5 to 9 p.m. at the Northeast Palace in Minneapolis, it is the inaugural SKOL Fest. What the heck is SKOL Fest? It's like Oktoberfest. Myself at Purple and Gold for Days. Rap, Dave from Minnesota Sports Talk, Gigi, Yogi, SK, all of us content creators decided, you know what? Half of us are going to be in town for the week 1 opener. Let's see if we can find a spot to have a gathering of all these Vikings fans. So we're calling it SKOL Fest, Northeast Palace, Minneapolis. Go to Eventbrite and just type in SKOL Fest. It's the only thing with the word SKOL in it on the site, so it's real easy to find. There's no cover charge. We'll have a live DJ. We're going to do a show for about an hour or so within that time slot, but it is just a gathering of Vikings fans. I know a lot of the people that are in the chat are already going to be there. If you are able to, and you're in the Twin Cities area, again, SKOL Fest, Northeast Palace in Minneapolis from 5 to 9. Saturday night, getting you ready for week 1 against Tampa Bay. If you can make it, come on out.
And
no
if you
cover
want
charge.
A badass t-shirt for it, contact Sarah. She's making some sweet ones. But, hey, who knows? I may even make an appearance via over whatever show they do. I won't be there in person. I wish I could be, but God, it sounds like fun. With that, what do we say, Justin?
I say SKOL to the next episode. You say
SKOL Vikings.
SKOL Vikings.
Like, subscribe, and ring the bell, and rate us on your favorite podcast aggregator. Darren and Dave, thank you for watching this episode of Two Old Bloggers. We look forward to seeing you on every show on the new Vikings First and SKOL. You can find our podcasts as part of the Fans First Sports Network. Sports takes for the fan, from the fan. SKOL, everybody!